Cool. Get left only then for a moment as I fix my audio. Advanced audio properties. This is a mono input. There we go. Welcome everyone back to another exciting season of Track Limits Racing. Season 3 as Barney frantically waves the flag, the end of practice. We'll get into qualifying here in just a moment. Couple new changes for the season. You'll see it there in the pre-stream, but just as a reference for all of us who are new to this series. We have multi-class, LMP3, GT3, GT4, both LMP3 and GT4 this season have Pro and AM splits, which I think I'm so excited about. We move back to a single qualifying for those of our longtime members who are used to the open qualifying format in order to shorten up the evening and save us from 45 minutes of quali. We have 10 minutes now of qualification, so we're going to watch these drivers go for an outlap, and then we'll hang out with each of the classes in ascending order as they set lap times individually. So, we are at the Hungaroring to start out the season. A wonderful track that I'm super thrilled to be at, and I love having available to us, as I probably peeked the mic a couple times. Sorry. Let's see if I can keep everything good and smooth. Doesn't look good and smooth, but we'll find out. Any problems with the setup? I had to reset everything in between the seasons, so forgive me as I shake the rust off. Hungaroring. This was my, as well as the other commentators' track choice from last season, and we're kicking it off this season with it, which is fantastic. One of my favorite tracks that we don't go to enough in iRacing, that is on iRacing. Super fun in Formula cars, equally fun and almost more technical with the tin top machinery we'll be using here today. Can I get a mic check? I just want to make sure I'm hearing myself or hearing the everything. You know, like you're supposed to. Stream manage. Mic's good. Marvelous. Thank you. Fantastic. Then we're set. I'm flying solo in the booth for the first time. I'm Fennicini. I feel like I gotta introduce myself. I've been flying about a mile a minute today. I went from broadcast to racing to broadcast right now, and then I'll be back in a car later this evening. So bear with me as I get settled in. Speaking of getting settled in, let's go on a flying lap with Stephen Wallace from last season as we get into Hungaroring and the lovely technical track that we have here. Sweeping open hairpin. You saw it on the track map when we had the rest of the race info open for you all. And it is a lovely opening hairpin into a series of left-handers that are all downhill. So the camber is a little bit interesting because there's not a whole ton of it. So it's deceptive how much traction you have going out of turn number 4 here. And one of the many short straights that we have. And this is another corner. You're hard on the brakes just to make sure you get this apex and don't run wide on the exit because it's a sharp left-hander before a lovely sweeping right at a medium speed. Going to be a lot of fun trying to see the multi-class navigate those pair of corners. It's going to be super awkward, I feel like, as a result. And into the lovely chicane in the back half of the lap. I'm sure there's corner names for this. Let me go find Hungaroring's track map so I can make sure. Or if there isn't, then at least I've tried. It doesn't look like there is. They're all numbers, according to the F1 version, which is always the most trustworthy source I can find. Opening up in 1986. This track has been around for a hot minute. We're going to pull some facts from the Wikipedia page. But 14 corners, currently sitting on 12 of the 14, going through a pair of hairpins, a very close hairpin and a slightly more open one to round out the lap in this GT4, this Mercedes AMG GT4, excuse me, let me get more particular. That wide line that you want to apex really late to get a great run out of the start to the start-finish line as we wrap up a lap here at Hungaroring in the GT4s, LMP3s, and GT3s setting their first lap times. I'm going to pull up the track map. You get a feel for what we're seeing there on track. The car we're following, we'll see that one. And we're going to jump over from there. 153 for the GT3s. Stephen Wallace currently, GT4s. Stephen Wallace currently on the top of that. A couple new adjustments to our graphics and overlays as well that you'll see there. Oscar Brown setting the fastest lap. Everybody's still getting out their warm-ups, laps complete. Vincent Leroux topping the timing tower with LMP3. But let's go and ride along as we are getting close to the end of a lap with Ethan Hamlet, last season's GT3 victor, and is back for the repeat, getting those tires warmed up. First lap out, you know, you're getting it set up. Second lap, you're getting it more dialed in. That My Little Mustang, I guess, is what that is, that livery. I guess I have to go find out whether or not livery-wise how that fits into things. Into the pair of hairpins at the end of the lap. And you'll see a largely similar lap out of the GT3s and the GT4s, just this big sweeping corners where the GT3s get to utilize that downforce and a little more than the GT4s have, as well as the faster engine and faster speed are the huge differences as we get into a lap with Ethan Hamlet in the GT3 category. First couple corners, like you see there, very similar, just a little bit faster. And that's largely this truth for most of the corners here around with the GT3 versus that GT4 lap we saw a moment ago, is they're all just a little bit faster, as they have a little more downforce to keep the car pinned in the medium speed corners. We'll see a bit of awkwardness here as the GT4s and GT3s try to figure out who's faster throughout that winding right-hander and into the chicane. Hard on the brakes will be also another interesting spot for them to figure out who is at the top of the pile there. And get a little loose there from Ethan as we get underway here. Down the second of kind of the three main straights, including the start-finish straight from turn 11 to turn 12, a 90-degree right-hander before those set of hairpins that we've talked about. Team the N8 Mazda is the best car ever made. I think we've talked about that. United States, there we go. And that will round up a lap as he gets out of the turn number 14. See if he improves at all on his already decent qualifying time. He looks like he does. I believe so. Jumping up to 142.67, a whole second faster than Gab Chavez, who is in second at the moment. And last but certainly not least, let's dive on board with Vincent Leroux, our fastest LMP3. See if we get any faster time out of him this time by. Is there a good way? There's no good way. See if anybody else is starting a lap soon. Everybody's starting to get there. Follow along with Gian Cardoso at the moment. I'm just going to wait for Vincent Leroux. See if he has another lap in him as the time of this. And you'll see a little bit of a different look here for the LMP3 when you're riding along board with them. You'll see those first couple corners be different, as well as the rest of the field. Vincent Leroux. Did we change that? Didn't we? Didn't we make it full name? I can't remember. It's been too long. I'll have to go back and look. Vincent Leroux rounding out the final corner here, trying to get real close to the apex to set a final flying lap as he comes across start-finish line. And it looks like he will not improve this time by with a 140.4, but that's good because we're going to be right along with him as he tries to set, I think, a faster one. You'll see these cars take the apex a lot tighter than you'll see the GT3 and GT4. It's the downforce that these cars generate with the prototype kind of body style, a lot more than both the GT3 or the GT4. And so they are able to kind of really capitalize on the grip they are able to kind of impose there with this car. So see him take kind of other sections where we'll see the GT4s lift a little bit. GT3s probably feather that throttle to really get the maximum amount of time for it. And the braking, as we see Vincent Leroux unfortunately take a spin there, going to be a hard spot for them to get through. See if we can ride along with somebody else that's also, well, in the back half of a lap. Jaden Ledbetter, the team admins. Oh, also looking for a spin. Wow. What is wow? Just managed my best lap by half a second. Surely we get the GT4 AM pole, LMAO. I would have to hope so, Oscar Brown. You are 4th, I think, overall in GT4. So with that and with what we saw of that lap, that is the end of qualifying. We will see the grid here in just a moment's time. So for round number 1 of the 2025 Season 3 grid. Let's see here. We're going to lead it off with Vincent Leroux still setting in that best lap time alongside Benjamin O'Shea, who's only 3/10 behind. About that. It's pretty quick, but hopefully that's consistency you can build there. Oscar Brown, we'll get to you in just a second. Vincent Leroux, Benjamin O'Shea on that front row, Jaden Ledbetter alongside Gian Cardoso, Track Limits Racing, veterans and stewards, owners, pieces of that puzzle, I should say. All on that second row. Mark Coyne alongside Scott Fleming, Cameron Robertson, almost said Robertson. I was like, that's not quite right. And Jake Fulton round out the LMP3 grid. Oh, excuse me. We have Emery Anderson are the 9 LMP3 starters. As I jump 1 too many, or 2 too many. Yeah, we go. Emery Anderson is going to be 9th in LMP3. Ethan Hamlet alongside Ben Eichen for the front row of GT3. Gab Chavez and Tommy Kogan in 3rd and 4th, respectively. Austin Green and Casey Caraway round out the top 6. Reese Allport, Christopher Blue, which I'd love to see in GT3, and Brandon Potts are going to round out the 9 drivers showing up for the GT3, excuse me. I'm also trying to organize a food for myself as I go through all this craziness, so bear with me. GT4 new systems. Yeah, there is the new systems. Stephen Wallace is going to lead off GT4 Pro. Nick Bowen going to be in 2nd there. Tanner Schiffner alongside our Oscar Brown, who's been in chat trying to figure out how he pulled out that fast lap. We'll have to see if that's consistent among the heat as well as the feature race here in just a little bit, moment's time. Jake Hewitt is going to be 5th in GT4, 4th in GT4 Pro. Andrew Matthias is going to round out the top 6 there. Matt Pyle alongside John Newman, another veteran of the TLR series. As these cars get underway, I'm going to round out the last of these drivers. Logan Branson, Paul York, Ryan Buchanan, and Corey Lobner. Corey Lobner, that doesn't sound right. Ryan Buchanan and Corey Lobner are in. Yes, no, that's right. I just forget that there's also a Ford GT4 Mustang now. So I'm looking at like, there's a Ford next to those people. That can't be right. So those are your 30 drivers that I have on my roster. I'm going to do one final check to make sure I haven't missed anybody. The answer is no, I've not missed anyone. As the pace car peels in, Vincent Leroux going to lead off LMP3. Great start from Vincent Leroux. Is going to see him jump ahead of Benjamin O'Shea, Jaden Ledbetter, Gian Cardoso. Going to fan out 2, almost 3 wide. Gian Cardoso making the look, but deciding to stay behind Jaden for the moment, but it's going to be close. Scott Fleming trying to go around the outside of Gian Cardoso, Mark Coyne, Jake Fulton, and Cameron Robertson, and Emery Anderson, the LMP3 AM field, seeing all those drivers end up there as well. Ethan Hamlet has led away GT3, which has had a fantastic run out of turn number 1. Everybody seems to be going the right direction as we get underway here. Stephen Wallace going to lead away GT4, both Pro and AM. We're going to see those splits come up here in a moment. Paul York, right? Oh, no. I think we had a incident here. Why is that there? You don't need to be there. You're the replay. Okay. An unfortunate moment for Paul York as Corey Lobner, unintentionally, I think, or excuse me, maybe Ryan Buchanan. Sorry. Gets that car going the right way. I'm trying to go live. Go away. Okay. Well, in classic rebuilding things faster, nothing works and everything's broken. So let me make sure we're at least live here. No, of course not. All right. Top of the order. Vincent LaRue leads about a second away of Benjamin O'Shea, Jaden Ledbetter, and Gian Cardoso in third and fourth. Top five rounded out by Scott Fleming in LMP3. There's the look as all these drivers are trying to keep these tires warm and wave down that start-finish stretch. Break of the draft. GT3 sees a large lead helmed off by Ethan Hamlet. Ben Eichen about 2 seconds behind already, holding about a second lead to Austin Green. And Gab Chavez, Tommy Kogan rounding out those top five as Austin Green's had a fantastic start to the race. See all of them continue their race as is. That lovely Purple Rain Aston Martin GT3 is going to be fantastic. Stephen Wallace, Nick Bowen, Tanner Schiffner, Jake Hewitt are going to be top four there. Oscar Brown, that lead driver of GT4 AM, still holding about a second and a half lead to Logan Branson, who's in P2. All right. Matt Pyle has gone off track. Came back on track after a second. Emery Anderson labeled as crash. Let's see if I can get what happened here without losing too much time here. I wonder if it's just a unfortunate lockup trying to go in or an over rotation. Yep, just a little bit too much brake on top of everything else. Gets that car moving again, though, before GT3s catch up to him. And my live button is the thing that decides it doesn't want to work tonight. So we're just going to have to manually skip back to it. Always a good time. Gab Chavez fighting with Austin Green, Tommy Kogan for P3 in GT3. All right. Taking a look here, up and down the order, plenty of battles going on. Benjamin O'Shea and Jaden Ledbetter, Gian Cardoso, Scott Fleming, all within a second of each other. And Mark Coyne rounded out those drivers. See if I can ride along with Mark Coyne, see all these LMP3s right in front of him. Gian Cardoso, Scott Fleming kind of duking it out for P5 ahead of both of them. Fastest lap this recent time by Ben O'Shea. Fastest unofficial lap was by Vincent, who still holds a 1.43 second ahead of Ben O'Shea. Oh, Mark Coyne keeping it steady. As he goes. See what's happening here as we go on and move forward. Cameron Robertson, Jake Fulton duking it out for LMP3 AM as well as overall. We're going to see them duke it out. See Jake Fulton going for the look up the inside with that 95 or really 24 Lightning McQueen liveried LMP3. See how they get on. I love to the inclusion of the LMP3 AM Championship. It's one of my favorite cars, so seeing that class get split back up, well worth it in my opinion for those. So with that, we dive into a couple of races here, taking a look at the most recent lap times as well as our best lap times for these drivers. If I hit live, it just breaks things. It just doesn't do anything interesting, and it just hangs out on the SDK without really going back to live. Gab Chavez listed as crash. Let's see if we can find out what happened here. Coming in alongside Austin Green. I wonder if he just gets loose coming out into the corner. Oh, over brakes himself, bumps into the back of Austin Green, and that will see him send that Lamborghini out to the field. Let me go back to live, you rat individual. Okay. So we'll see. Don't know why. I will see. When we go in between races here, I'll see if I can reload the iRacing the overlay. See if that helps any. Looking at another battle for overall positions. Paul York, Andrew Matthias duking it out in those GT4 Porsche Caymans. I think these are so much fun to drive now that they've gotten their update. The ability to just really lay on the tires when they're warming up, as well as just still that stability that comes with rear engine machinery, feels like it's actually super competitive now. So I'm super curious to see how these guys get on, as well as Logan Branson, who's a little further ways up. Logan Branson joined us in the booth last season, decided he liked driving a car more. Can't say I blame him. And so he is back on track trying to take home that GT4 AM championship. He's going to have, I think, a heck of a fight with Oscar Brown. However, still 2.5 seconds up the road. The speed there going to be an interesting one to overcome. See if Logan can play the pit strategy game to end up further ahead. Hold on. Okay, that lets me do that, which isn't super helpful. Trying to see what else I can fix. Ben Aiken in GT3 was in second, ends up falling down to fourth after this. It's just, I think, a little too overzealous. Not enough early braking, tries to correct it, and ends up losing that rear traction as a result. Hit live, and it's going to betray me like usual. So we're just going to do this while it's doing that, and then hopefully it fixes itself. Yeah, it's just going to take a while, apparently. Boy, howdy. There we go. With that being said, Austin Green, Tommy Kogan still going to be duking it out for P3 or P2 now. Excuse me. After Ben Aiken has fallen out of the top three. Jake Fulton and Cameron Robertson have still continued to duke it out, as those two drivers are still figuring out where they want to be in the LMP3 AM Championship. As well as Benjamin O'Shea, Jaden Ledbetter, now going to be seeing how they can get their final spots halfway of the heat coming up in just a minute's time, which means we have 10 more minutes to go before these drivers are going to be seeing a checkered flag for the first race of the night. Gab Chavez passing Casey Caraway for number 6 as he's on his recovery drive. Matt Pyle trying to get around Oscar Brown for overall GT4 positions, trying to see if he can get up the order into that battle for the top 5 more properly instead of the top 4 in class. Let's take a look real quick here at the option now to do this cool thing where you can see all of the GT4 class broken down by overall class and 5th in class. So looking to see if he can improve his overall pacing by trying to get around Oscar Brown, and then see if he can take that fight to Jake Hewitt, who is about 2 seconds up the road. I think it'll be a tall ask in the sprint race. However, the feature may see a little bit more to be had. Yeah. Pretty quiet race in terms of incidents, and then we love to see it. Vincent Leroux having a big moment, I think, this last lap, 142.59 versus the 141.2 of Benjamin O'Shea. Benjamin O'Shea continuing to get faster, but the consistency Vincent Leroux has had early on so far seems to be paying off well as he gets into the first bit of lapped traffic, which is probably where part of this comes from. And we'll see him try to get around the pile driving car of Ryan Buchanan. All 5 of these drivers. Let's see if we can hang out off of the left, what we call the left rear, but is really the on top of the car angle as they go through the winding right-hander of turn number 5. You can see all these cars hanging out behind Vincent Leroux as they try to get their jockey for position, trying to get around Logan Branson and the rest of the GT4 field. I don't know that we'll see them come all the way around to complete passing GT3s by the end of the 20-minute marker. We'll have to see. Lap times pretty similar, especially between the fastest of the GT3s and the slowest of the slowest of the LMP3s. But we'll have to see if that's possible as Vincent LaRue continues to build back up that gap by having good awareness of traffic in the back half of this race. Let me see. Position in relative mode. Switch delay. Track time threshold. Yep. Speed up track crashments. Yep. Metro color. Cars color. Cool. I'm trying to make sure I don't have anything crazy. Okay. Looking at a couple things here. Okay. We get into the LMP3 Pro-Am split. And that gap now opened up for Vincent LaRue to Benjamin O'Shea by over a second once again. Vincent LaRue in clean air seems to find plenty of pace. It's when he gets from there to the traffic that it's maybe swings in his favor, but that patience there seems to be paying off as Vincent LaRue gets into turn number 13 once more. 13 minutes elapsed, 7 minutes to go as we get almost completed with our first heat race of the season. Tommy Kogan still trying to chase down Austin Green for the bottom two spots of the podium. I want to see the onboard with the Aston Martin GT3. Such a fun car to begin with, and it sounds so wonderful from the inside. Take a listen real quick as I'm sitting here blabbing on. Ooh, Tommy throws the look, opts to stay behind Austin. Two of them end up being 16 seconds behind Ethan Hamlet, who's kind of on a race of his own. And following on track action, Jaden Ledbetter continued to fight a little bit with Gian Cardoso, who's half a second behind. Casey Caraway diving in to pit lane. I wonder what for. See him, see them, I should say. I may not, can't say for certain. See them come in this time by. I'm not 1,000% on what for, other than maybe not enough fuel, which is a unfortunate thing if that's the case. We are only a handful of laps in, but more than I would expect to see from, maybe they only expected to be a 15-minute race, and that was part of the problem. They only fueled for 15 minutes and then realized they would need to come back in. And Emery Anderson, we're seeing labeled as crashed again. That's Ben Eichen. That's super fun. And that's the off track. Here's what happened. Oh, God, I wonder if got lot. Getting flashed by GT4 Am traffic, and then finds the spin as GT4 traffic is getting passed by GT3s. And then our LMP3s, Emery Anderson, trying to get that car back going the right way. The Martini livered LMP3 keeps it off the wall. We'll see them probably take the checkered flag here in just a little moment's time, as I have to do this button and do this, because still my replay button does apparently nothing. Let me do something real quick. We'll see. we'll take a look at what we can do in between races. Stephen Wallace having a pretty fantastic run here for GT4. Take a look as those drivers keep on rolling through. Top four separated by less than a second. Stephen Wallace holding off. Nick Bowen, Tanner Schiffner, Jake Hewitt, all four pretty close together. We got GT3 traffic of Ethan Hamlet trying to work his way through as well. Let's see if I can hop on board with this driver in the blue liveried. Not the Dynaco Lightning McQueen variant. All right. Trying to see what else we have going on here on track, hanging out with those drivers for a moment. We'll see us hit the 17-minute marker. 3 minutes left, probably about 2 laps, maybe including this one. Vincent LaRue leading off GT or LMP3. Jaden Ledbetter getting the fastest lap in this most recent time by, but he's still 5 seconds behind, unfortunately, which means that he'll have a lot of time to try to make up in a very short amount of race left, as these three are still working it out. Benjamin O'Shea is still just over a second behind Vincent LaRue in the number 13 LMP3. Mark Coyne, Cameron Robertson, setting their personal best as well this most recent time by. We'll see a good portion of the field begin to make their way around for the final time here in just a moment. I'm going to take a look at the grid. We'll see that white flag in the air as these drivers come around the final corner for turn number 14. One more lap for Benjamin O'Shea to get the move done in the feature or heat race. We'll see them try to make it as well in the feature. Biggest battle on track at the moment will be Tommy Cogan and Austin Green, still a half second with each other in GT3. GT4 sees the top four still within a second of each other. Stephen Wallace being hounded by Nick Bowen and Tanner Schiffner and Jake Hewitt, all in all you could say under a blanket, all within like 2 seconds of each other. Ryan Buchanan, Andrew Matthias are still battling it out as well, as Andrew Matthias trying to find that last bit of pace to end up ahead of Ryan Buchanan. Corey Lobner trying to get around lapped traffic, it looks like. Trying to get through smoothly as lap traffic gets around Corey Lobner. Vincent LaRue still holding on to the lead. 0.8 seconds behind him is going to be Benjamin O'Shea. Benjamin O'Shea looking to try to secure a great start for the feature race in just a moment's time, but we'll have to see how much he's able to secure here, losing about a tenth in that corner from a worse exit than Vincent got. We'll see him stay about a second behind both Benjamin O'Shea as well as Mark Coyne, setting their own personal bests this last time by. Vincent LaRue setting a better time than his best this last time by, but that was a off track as a result. So we'll see how that impacts him coming forward. I have been delivered food. I'm super... Huh? Okay, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. So we'll see how this pans out. Checker flag. Flies as Vince LaRue makes it home P1. Jaden Ledbetter in P3, along with Benjamin O'Shea in second, Cardoso in fourth. Ethan Hamlet currently trying to make his way around the final corner to take home the win in the heat race for GT3. Austin Green and Tommy Cogan still not done yet, as Austin Green gets caught up with lapped traffic. We'll see if Tommy Cogan also wants to try to make the move here around the outside of the hairpin, one of two. We'll see him end up still a little bit slow. Half a second separates these two. I think We'll have to see how these two fare in the feature race in just a moment's time. Behind them and also with them is going to be the entire top 3 podium spots of GT4 Pro, which we'll see Stephen Wallace hold on just by 0.2 to Nick Bowen. Tanner Schiffner rounding out that podium. Jake Hewitt still less than a second from all of them. Oscar Brown, after a fantastic and consistent race, comes home the leader of GT4 AM. Logan Branson coming home second there. Paul York going to be rounding out that podium as well as he tries to finish home ahead of John Newman, who will be our final finisher, I believe, on track for the sprint race. All right. And yep, you can see the last bits of the track map there as I click the wrong button. Heat race results are in. Let's take a look at them if we can, if I don't break anything else. Vincent LaRue is going to lead off the LMP3 Pro category. Benjamin O'Shea coming home second. Jaden Ledbetter in third. Gian Cardoso, Mark Coyne, Scott Fleming rounding out that one. LMP3 AM is going to see, I believe, Cameron Robertson, yes, lead home. Jake Fulton and Emery Anderson for that 3 car, all on the podium for those 3. GT3, going to see Ethan Hamlet come home to ahead of Austin Green, Tommy Kogan by 23 seconds. A fantastic run for Ethan Hamlet starting off this dominance early. GT4 Pro, we'll see Stephen Wallace take home the win just ahead of Nick Bowen, 0.2. I think that battle is far from over in terms of this feature race. Alongside Tanner Schiffner, Jake Hewitt, and Matt Pyle round out the top 5 there. GT4 AM, all 4 of these drivers. We'll see Oscar Brown lead home, Logan Branson, Paul York, and John Newman. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to reset my iRacing, my timing tower, as well as everything else. See if I can get it to work correctly as we get into the race here. And hit the race button. And the race, of course, we'll see Gian Cardoso sitting, I think, not in pit lane. We'll see Gian Cardoso on track. We'll see if I can hit a replay button if Gian crashes here in a moment. And while he's warming up, I'm going to slam a little bit of food before we get into the hour-long feature race. Just over an hour. Welcome, Paul, for Track Lemans Racing. We're about a couple minutes away from the start of our feature race. Only for GT4M, yeah, but makes it for good points for all the finishers who do come home tonight in any of those positions as we get into as we get into the season, because as it gets more busy in both GT4 AM and Pro, we'll see less, you get less points in the GT4 depending on where you finish if there's more cars on track. Let's see if I can see. Okay. That did the thing. Oh, it works. I got it functioning. Our replay does what it's supposed to. I have said so many things. I hope you all would love to hear them all again, because I'm going to do it once more. Because apparently, even though the mic shows that it's not off, it still is not displaying anything. And now hopefully it is, because I can see it actually moving. Great start. Vincent LaRue going to lead off to Benjamin O'Shea, about a second and a half. Benjamin O'Shea trying to see if he can make up the time. Gian Cardozo having a great run against Jaden Ledbetter at the start, running too wide through the first part of the lap. At the beginning of the race, Kevin Roberson also getting a great launch over Mark Coyne. GT3, we'll see Ethan Hamlet once again, a great early lead. Yeah, it was just because I absolutely hit the button, but even though I hit the button, it didn't actually do the thing I wanted it to do. Austin Green, Tommy Kogan duking it out once more. Reese Allport going to hold off Christopher Blue, Ben Eichen, and Gab Chavez. All four of those drivers within a little while. Let's ride along board with Gab Chavez for a little bit as we see these train of drivers trying to get through the back half of the lap, getting out of turn number 11 and onto one of the many straights, or excuse me, turn number 10 going into turn number 11. I know where I am on track. We'll see them all continue to duke it out early on in the race for these positions just outside of the podium. GT4, as I talk about all of this, Stephen Wallace having a great launch, heading off. Jake Hewitt and Tanner Schiffner. Jake Hewitt really getting the jump there. Tanner Schiffner kind of keeping up where he is, and Nick Bowen fallen out by the wayside as he had a poor launch and has been recovering ever since. Matt Pyle also having a great launch over Oscar Brown. Oscar Brown finds himself further back. I wonder if he had an off track. It looks like it. Let's see if we can use our off track, our replay. Oh, huge moment there trying to keep that car from crashing into others. He'll hit the live. And when I hit the live, it does the thing. Okay, cool. We're good. It does the thing now. Look at that. Great. Everything's fine. All right. So that is where we're at. Initial battle starting to settle down. We have 70 minutes of racing. 65 of it still remains after a couple laps here. We're getting into lap number 3. Benjamin O'Shea, 2 seconds now behind Vincent LaRue, who has a commanding lead and the fastest lap so far of the race. Tanner Schiffner setting the fastest lap in GT3. We're going to see Jake Hewitt try to go too wide with Stephen Wallace coming out of turn number 1. This will be interesting to see. Let's see if I can grab that in car or just above as we watch from Tanner Schiffner's point of view, who sits behind both of these drivers. Videographer, announcer, technical support. I am. I'm killing it. We're doing our best. We're watching along with Tanner Schiffner and this BMW GT4 G82 if you want to get super technical about it. We'll see these two still continue to duke it out. Jake Hewitt having a great launch there, but Stephen Wallace playing so defensively in the best of ways. Andrew Matthias, going to be labeled as crashed as well. Let's take a quick look at that. John Newman marked as off track. I wonder if there's something there. Ooh, Andrew Matthias and John Newman go. Oh, John Newman tries to keep it out of the way. And, I want to take a look at that again. All right. Let me grab the onboard here. We're on board with Andrew Matthias. Bump there. And, okay. All right, and that we'll see John Newman jump to pit lane. The battle for the top, all the podium steps pretty much are still up for grabs. Ben Eichen losing out to Gab Chavez, who has a great run into turn number 2. We hop out of the onboard cams. We got plenty of them, but it's also super fun to watch these cars from outside of the onboard cams. We'll see those two swap positions as Ben Eichen's trying to figure out how to get that car going the right direction. Started second in the heat race and has been having a bit of a backward slide at the start here. But plenty of racing still left to go, so I believe ample opportunity there. Vincent LaRue 5 seconds ahead of the rest of the LMP3 grid. Cameron Roberson rounding out a 6-car train, including Mark Coyne. Meaning that if I hop on board here, you can see 4 LMP3s in front of Mark Coyne, as they're all within a few tenths of each other at this point. I think it'll be interesting to see the car right in front of him as well as that LMP3 AM. I want to say it's GT4 AM because we have 2 AM categories now, and I'm super stoked about them. So if I use my buttons to do the thing, show you that split here of LMP3 Pro and LMP3 AM, right along with Mark Coyne, who is just ahead of Scott Fleming, who I think is not in this race, retired from it. We've seen John Newman jump to pits, taking one of the 2 fast repairs I believe these drivers have on offer. Brandon Potts working his way through GT4 traffic. Reese Alport getting passed by Gab Chavez as well as we ride along board. Go see here, hit that button. See where Brandon Potts is trying to get around these fields. Has broken up this fight for the lead. Jake Hewitt really still hounding Stephen Wallace at the beginning, at the sharp end of GT4 Pro. Oscar Brown on a bit of a recovery drive, trying to get around Paul York at this point and work his way back up the GT4 AM order from where he started in the lead of GT4 AM. Austin Green, Tommy Kogan. This battle, we saw it in the heat race. I think we're not going to see it go anywhere in the feature either. It is here for a good time. All right. Make sure I got all that right. Cool. And then, see that fake the inside there. Ben Eichen trying to get around Reese Allport as well. Reese Allport had a great start to the race, but now finds himself a little bit further back. All good, safe driving there. Keeps both those cars going the right direction. Ben Eichen late on the brakes there, having to take advantage maneuvers to not hit Reese. Slow down for Matt Pyle. See that come through and get served. Jaden Ledbetter trying to get past trying to not get it past by Cameron Robertson, who is finding a bunch of pace here early on. And all these drivers still 5 seconds away from Vincent LaRue, who heads up the pack in a fantastic lead so far. The rest of the field starting to spread out a little bit. Tommy Kogan and Austin Green, the battle in GT3 to keep an eye on. Gab Chavez, I think, finding himself right behind Christopher Blue, and those two are going to go at it for a little while. Fantastic to see Christopher Blue in the GT3 category. Usually have seen him in GT4 in the past, making that jump and jumping the type of car too, from a BMW to a Corvette. A fantastic thing we love to see. And Jake Hewitt still keeping up with Stephen Wallace in the GT4. I'm just coming back to this battle here because it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Each time you think there's one or the other, both trying to kind of changes hands on who has the faster lap. Take a breath. Take a breather. We're going to dive back into it here in a moment. Jake Hewitt looks like he's going to dive up the inside there as we go into turn number 1, starting another lap. But she thinks better of it, tucks back in behind Stephen Wallace. Doesn't have the run there at the moment. We'll see Ben Eichen, Reese Allport finally make that swap for position there. And Ben, I think, will he be able to hold on to it, keeping the inside there. The flashers are just going for Reese. I wonder what's happening there. That has those going. Gabe Chavez and Christopher Blue still duking it out as well. Gian Cardoso, Benjamin O'Shea under fire from Jaden Ledbetter. I almost said Layden Jedbetter, and I was like, that's not right. That's not how his name is said. So, trying to get around the GT4 traffic of Andrew Matthias, who is currently trying to recover from that incident early on with John Newman. And we'll see him, almost tips. I believe that was Cameron Robertson. Yes, I want to say that was with that incident. Very lucky there for all of them. Oscar Brown labeled as crash. Let's see what happens here. Coming into the very fast kink of turn number 4 before the fast sweeping left-hander. Oh, goes in, tries to. Oh, I wonder if Netco took him out there and got him. Said that Gian Cardoso had hit his right rear. I'll see him fall further back down the order, back down to 3rd on the podium for GT4M. And then if I hit the yes, we're 2 for 2. 2 for 2 on fixing this. We'd love to see it. Jake Hewitt still trying to pass Tanner Schiffer and all of them. The battles in LMP3 going nowhere as Gian Cardoso continues to hold off the likes of Jaden Ledbetter and Benjamin O'Shea. Benjamin O'Shea getting passed by Jaden Ledbetter in a perfect maneuver for I believe he used some traffic to get that. Let's see. Take a look at that battle here. Yeah, Ben went out around the outside. Jane went on the inside, both going too wide into turn number 12. A fast 90-degree right-hander. Corey Lobner keeping that door open and staying wide to not get involved. We'll see him get that pass done and dusted. All right, 15 minutes coming up here in just a couple minutes' time. 12 minutes and 30 seconds on the clock. Mark Coyne trying to get past Cameron Robertson. The rest of the field behind him in the LMP3 category, or rest field in front of him in the LMP3 category, still nose to tail as they get through the first round of GT4 traffic. Benjamin O'Shea choosing the other way around. Tanner Schiffner, who has to play a little defensively. The battle for the lead. Jake Hewitt finding his way around. Amongst all that, as I was looking at the battle with Jaden Ledbetter and Benjamin O'Shea. Stephen Wallace on the inside. Jake Hewitt just keeps his foot in and sticks the inside for the turn number 5. A great place to make that move stick. We've just seen both them do that. And then we'll see Stephen Wallace end up a little bit further behind as LMP3 traffic has spread out this battle for the lead at this point. Half a second separates all the drivers behind him. Tanner Schiffner and Nick Bowen to Stephen Wallace, but a second and a half gap between himself and Jake Hewitt at this point. Andrew Mathias trying to catch up and pass Paul York for overall GT4 spots. And the rest of the grid is starting to spread out as traffic plays its factor. Tommy Kogan, however, still chasing down Austin Green, as well as Gab Chavez trying to chase down Christopher Blue. All right. A thing I'd love to keep in mind for everyone at home who are tuning in here is that we've done all this and we still have 55 minutes left of this race. We are just under the hour mark at this point. We have, I believe it's going to be at least 2 stops for all classes at this point because of the 50% across the board fuel capacity sees all of them have a reduced fuel capacity, which we'll see all of them have to come in sooner. So about an hour-long stint for the GT3s, as well as I believe the LMP3s. GT4s are about an hour and 10-ish, depending on how much they fuel save on full tanks. Meaning on half tanks, we'll have to come in at 30 minutes for those GT3s, 35 minutes for those GT4s. So you could theoretically pull out a one-stop in the GT4 category, I think. We'll have to see. It may not be with a new fuel category and with the new fuel overhaul that the GT4 category got this past season. I'll have to see. I've not done a ton of fuel numbers to make sure. Cassie Caraway finds themselves on the outside of the barriers. Once again, this fast corner going to catch some people out. It looks like Casey is one to fall prey to it. Oh, too much speed through there. You see that rear end just slide around. Keeps it out of the barrier and then gets it out of the way to get it under back rolling. But I'll see Casey and 8th of the 9 drivers. Jake Hewitt getting a second gap now to Stephen Wallace and the rest of the field. You can see there in that shot there's so many cars floating around as the GT3 traffic now starts to make its way through the GT4 traffic. Christopher Blue and Gab Chavez still in a battle for P4 overall. Excuse me. I had to over-enunciate that because I said Chris Bebe, and I was like, that's not a word. Those aren't words. You got to use your words correctly if you're going to speak about them. Gab Chavez consistently just a little faster than Christopher Blue by hundredths and tenths. You can see that in their fastest laps between the two of them. Only 300 separated in the favor of Chris Blue, and the recent laps show the odds swinging in the favor of Gab Chavez. 2 tenths separate these drivers. I should get that up. That's probably what I'm looking at. What's wrong with this picture? We don't have intervals. There we go. Intervals now available. Which will show you exactly what I've been missing. So, you can see that on that interval. You can also see Jaden Ledbetter closing in on Gian Cardoso. Take a look at this battle for these two for the bottom 2 steps of the podium. Once again, similar story by tenths and hundredths. Jaden Ledbetter running a little bit faster time than Gian Cardoso over these past few minutes in the race. Yeah. Oh, we had a hype train start. I apologize. I missed that. Gab Chavez, we just talked about that battle between him and Christopher Blue, and now labeled as crashed. I wonder what happened here. Still behind Christopher Blue at this point, trying to get the pass done. Oh, looks on the inside, grabs the grass, and just has too much rotation there when the tires regrip. Comes to a stop backwards. Oh, gets that move done carefully. Keeps out of the way of Reese Allport, and then gets the car going back the right direction. But that battle with Christopher Blue comes to a close. Tommy Cogan out to a second as well. Battle's now starting to drift off on track. Cameron Robertson trying to keep about a second ahead of Mark Coyne. Both of those drivers battling for their overall positions in LMP3. And the GT3 traffic of Brandon Potts will make for an interesting one, as Mark Coyne also brakes to allow that battle to happen naturally and not happen as a result of a push one way or another. Ben Eichen, now the driver to try to bring a fight to Christopher Blue, trying to get around the GT4 of Ryan Buchanan, and Corey Lobner. Up ahead just a moment as those two, the gap spreads back out to about a second between Ben Eichen and Christopher Blue. Austin Green now hounded by Tommy Cogan, as these two have seen traffic play in their favor, or really in Tommy's favor. I would say probably less in Austin Green's. Tommy Cogan also going to try to follow him around the outside. Jaden Ledbetter labeled as crashed. Oh no. Was he trying to text while drive? That is the question. Gets around Gian Cardoso. We will take a look back on that as well. Oh, and just spins it. Just spins it going into turn number 2. Too much aero there. And then is waiting to try to find a spot to rejoin. Eventually does so. Want to see that pass there. That got done. Austin Green, Tommy Cogan still duking it out. Jaden Ledbetter trying to get past a few other drivers, getting around Jake Fulton in that LMP3 AM category. We'll also see Mark Coyne once again getting closer to Cameron Robertson for LMP3 overall. Corey Lobner and Ryan Buchanan, I believe, find themselves getting closer, as well as Logan Branson now under fire from Corey Lobner as we get into 20 minutes in of this 70-minute feature race. I might lose my voice by the end of this. I'm not sure. It might happen. Paul York getting passed by Oscar Brown. Logan Branson off track. Corey Lobner also off track. Both coming back on pretty quickly, so I think those are all fine and dandy. Logan Branson hemorrhaging a little bit of time to Corey Lobner for the overall positions. Stephen Wallace getting chased down by Tanner Schiffner and Nick Bowen. Both of them now within a second of each other. Jake Fulton labeled as crashed. Find out what happened to Jake Fulton here, as he takes a tumble trying to get around Brandon Potts. I think probably a similar situation we saw Jaden Ledbetter, just too much rotation and not enough grip. Keeps it. Oh, nice catch there before it hits anything serious. We'll see him rejoin the track pretty easily. All right. Thank you for the follows, by the way. Conquer Raptor as well as Dad Bod Pino. Wonderful to have you join us for the first round of the Season 3 of 2025 Sports Car Series here on Track Limits Racing. If you're just joining us, I'm Fennicini, bringing you all the coverage for this season. In the booth with me, ideally for most of the season, will be a lovely individual when he is back from just a vacation. I think he has earned sevenfold, 15 different ways, and I wish him the best. Phil Milley, if you are out there watching the VOD or watching this live, best wishes to you and everything that's happening there. Back to racing action. Christopher Blue, Ben Eichen, duking it out. I want to hop on to the roof of Ben Eichen's car, take a look, see what the GT3's experience here in the back half of the lap, especially as they're dueling. The aero wash makes this car a little bit more awkward to drive than it would be had it not have a car in front of it. It's not too bad, thankfully, but it does unsettle the car in ways that you have to be prepared for and expect when you go through some of these faster corners where the downforce is really a factor. You have to take into consideration how fast you can take a corner. Jumping further back in this, Nick Bowen trying to get around Tanner Schiffner, ends up running really wide. I wonder what happened there that we just caught the tail end of, but seems to be trying to get through that without too much issue. Benjamin O'Shea being caught, I should say, by Cameron Robertson, who is set the fastest lap. The LMP3 AM driver, who I think might be good enough to duke it out with the pros, unless I have my numbers wrong. Nope. Cameron Robertson is labeled as AM on our entry list for this season, so we'll see that happen here in a moment. Ben Eichen and Chris Blue. I want to dive back to this battle real quick because 2/10 and up to 3/10 is all that separates these two drivers as they get around the traffic of John Newman. John Newman trying to stay out of the way of these two drivers. Unfortunately, that's going to bring that battle apart for a little while as they drift out to 0.7 of a second. Both Tommy Cogan and Austin Green pushing really hard. Andrew Matthias off track there. Corey Laubner right behind Logan Branson, trying to get this pass done for GT4 overall and to keep ahead of Ryan Buchanan, who is 5/10 behind him. And we'll see whether or not that gets done. GT3 traffic of Casey Caraway. Almost said Castaway. No, that's not right. Casey Caraway. We'll see that battle continue as the traffic works its way through. On top of the Casey Caraway traffic of GT3, you also have LMP3 traffic of Vincent LaRue, who is 6 seconds ahead of Gian Cardoso. I'm trying to figure out what happened. Cameron Robertson. Oh, no. Cameron Robertson labeled as crash after this battle here. That's Mark Coyne. That's not what I wanted. All right. This was a battle, what would be for third. Cameron Robertson third overall. But Cameron Robertson, the similar thing that has plagued a couple of our LMP3 drivers, almost said LMP2, has once again caught out another one. I would have to expect we see a couple more before the end of the race at the rate that these are going. Corey Laubner still trying to work his way around Logan Branson. Tanner Schiffner trying to keep up with Stephen Wallace, but trying to also keep Nick Bowen behind and stay on the podium. The battle between Ben Eichen and Chris Blue coming to 1/10 of a second between each other, and we'll see those two continue to duke it out as Chris and Ben are in the process of trying to resolve who wins this. Cameron Robertson not having any luck as that car comes to another crash. See what happens here. End of the lap, so shortly after that spin happened earlier, really a lap later, into turn number 1. I wonder, broke on the curbing, I think, and that is what caused that car to go sliding out of the way, giving the spot back to Jaden Ledbetter, who now finds himself in 5th on his way back up the order. Tommy Cogan, Austin Green, these two at blows once again. 26 minutes have elapsed. We are 10 minutes away from the halfway mark. We should be seeing, I would have to imagine, here within the next 10 minutes, our first round and maybe our only round of pit stops as the night goes on. We'll have to see if that can be done or what's happening there. Ben Eichen, Chris Blue, also still duking it out in GT3. LMP3 sees multiple seconds between all those drivers. Vincent LaRue 7 seconds ahead of the rest of the field, all 9 drivers there, and a pretty easy run at this point. The pit strategy may be where this comes up and becomes an interesting play once again. Ben Eichen, Christopher Blue still duking it out for position. Tommy Kogan, Austin Green also trying to find their way around at the present. Matt Pyle and Nick Bowen, I think. No, excuse me, Nick Bowen and Tanner Schiffner find themselves within a couple seconds. 2/10 separate Ben Eichen, Christopher Blue. I'm going to see if this... Ben Eichen trying to find his way around. Can't get it done. Turn number 5, the Achilles heel, puts those guys back out to half a second. Now I've done rapid firing, I want to dial in on a couple of battles here. Nick Bowen, Tanner Schiffner, these two have been duking it out for a while now. I want to see if I look at the time, the time delta between these two drivers, between Nick Bowen and Tanner Schiffner. The time delta stays about half a second, increases a little bit, and then comes back down as I think traffic becomes interesting for them. Sectors, seeing who has better sectors over the course of this lap. I believe you'll see, Tanner Schiffner running just a little bit faster than Nick Bowen in the first couple sectors, and in the second and third we'll see it swing back the other direction. Looking at lap time history as well for these three drivers. Bowen overall getting a faster lap time than Tanner Schiffner the past couple of laps. And then otherwise going slower as Tanner Schiffner gets at some of the fastest laps he's set comparative to the people around him. Oscar Brown, his night started strong and it keeps seeming to keep going downhill. Trying to get around traffic and wonder if he brakes too late here. Oh no, I mean, he might have had some help. Let's try to follow along once again. Oh, and Ben Eichen. I'm going to take one more look here from ideally Paul York's point of view. Let me give it that roll bar. Oh, that late lunge. We'll see. Yeah, unfortunately, a bit of a tap there as those two go at it. Ben Eichen, I want to see what happened here. Ben Eichen. Nope, that's Stephen Walsh. That's not what I want. That's first round of pits stops are also happening in GT4 as well as MP3. This is Ben Eichen. Oh, I wonder if he outbraked himself trying not to hit Christopher Blue. It looks like it. Gets a little too overzealous. We saw him do that earlier on in the race, and now it's happened twice. Our early adopters of the pit stop: Stephen Wallace, Andrew Matthias in GT4 Pro, Cameron Robertson, as well as Mark Coyne and Benjamin O'Shea also diving into pit lane. Next couple laps, we'll probably see the rest of those fields come in. GT3s are due in any time now as well, unless they're trying to save to make a one-stop a viable strategy. Okay. Battles on track. Mark Coyne, Emery Anderson, I believe, also still working themselves out. Sorry. Mark Coyne, Ethan Hamlet technically is the one the gap I was looking at. Tommy Kogan and Austin Green still in a battle. Gab Chavez trying to get past Reese Allport once again. We'll have to see how that plays out here over the next couple of laps, especially as we get into the pit window for the GT3 drivers. Nick Bowen and Tanner Schiffner still are inseparable. Logan Branson still being hounded. Jake Hewitt going to dive in from where he has the lead of GT4 Pro. Tanner Schiffner also diving in. Nick Bowen staying out, getting another lap in. 30 minutes elapsed. We're getting close to this one-stop strategy. Matt Pyle also going to dive in. Logan Branson, Corey Laubner. We're going to see a lot of the GT4 field in this lap to see to get fuel done. Ryan Buchanan staying out. Paul York also diving in. We'll see if Oscar Brown does the same as when he gets back to pit lane. Ryan Buchanan going to take over P2 there. Nick Bowen inheriting the lead of GT4. And Austin Green, Tommy Kogan also going to keep fighting. Ethan Hamlet dove into the pit lane this time by. I'm going to guess we're going to see a lot of the GT3s do the same. No. Tommy Kogan staying out, getting another lap in. I wonder if Tommy Kogan has been fuel saving throughout all of this. He's trying to make a one-stop a viable strategy. We'll have to see. Austin Green will dive in. We'll see probably a good portion of the GT3 field also dive in this time out. Matt Pyle, Corey Laubner, all diving out of pit lane ahead of Logan Branson as well as some others. The Interesting thing, I don't think Corey took tires. I think you'll be okay not taking tires, but I think that might be what have caught some of the GT4 AM drivers out as a result. Austin Green also diving in. Ben Eichen, Reese Allport diving to pit lane as well. Trying to see who else is in. Vincent LaRue, Gian Cardoso, Jaden Ledbetter, the LMP3s also diving into pit lane this time by. Big pit cycle matter, important here for the race. I'm super curious if they're able to make it on the one stop as a result. We are still shy of the halfway mark. We might need a splash and dash. Logan Branson crashing on the exit. Let's see what happened. Just after turn number 1, turn number 2, and coming into the infamous, now I would say infamous now, the same similar incident that we've seen happen a few times here, gets it pulled out of the way successfully before any issues arise. And interestingly enough, Jake Fulton staying out, has yet to pit, takes over the lead of this race in an LMP3 AM driver, going to get a laps led for his class. Christopher Blue coming out ahead of has yet to pit, is ahead of Ethan Hamlet. Tommy Cogan gonna pull in this time by, almost I think has an unsafe pit entry by the looks of it, keeps it thankfully in the right place. Christopher Blue also diving in. Last two of our drivers yet to pit. Nick Bowen, Ryan Buchanan, both the drivers who didn't come in last time for GT4, gonna dive in this lap. Gab Chavez, excuse me. Oh, that is a car that looks like it is unhappy. We'll see what happened here, as again, I think the new tires, cold tires, catching some drivers out. Super curious if it's the same type. Yep. Just has that slide. Oh, and you can see that crumpled right rear, and that fender is not happy from where it is. We'll probably see him come in at some point to get that repaired. Oh, he parks it after, I think, a second crash here. Let's see what happens. Trying to go through the fast right-hander, or left-hander, excuse me. Oh, that back end fell off, and that is what caused the issue with the speed difference. Jake Hewitt getting beat by Tanner Schiffner in the pit cycle because of Tanner Schiffner's fuel strategy, saving 3 seconds in the pit box for the first stop, meaning that Jake Hewitt now is in third. Tanner Schiffner making his way up the order ahead of Jake Hewitt. Stephen Walsh inheriting the lead of the race as well as a result. Both those drivers, I think, basically moving up, while Jake Hewitt spent 3 more seconds in the box than either of them. Matt Pyle also beating out Nick Bowen in the pit cycle. Nick Bowen ending up pretty far behind Matt Pyle as well. Let's see here. Emery Anderson, Jake Fulton diving into the pit lane this previous time by. Vincent LaRue now a 10-second gap to Gian Cardoso, who is only 2 seconds ahead of Mark Coyne. Jaden Ledbetter and Benjamin O'Shea round out that top 5 with those last two in 5th and 4th, based on how I said them. Christopher Blue, Ben Eichen. This battle that has happened since the start now continues. Christopher Blue letting Ben Eichen go by because otherwise I think he would have compromised both his own race as well as others with maybe some damage there. Gab Chavez, a night going from bad to worse as he tries to get that car back to pit road. But that car, you can look at that right rear, that looks so upset. No wonder he's having issues there trying to make any kind of turn at speed. And we'll see the lovely iRacing AI drifting, not AI, but the iRacing thing that displays on all the video screens that are all on a track. All right. A lot of the battles cooled off. Gives me plenty of time to talk about things as a result. Pit cycling causing a spread. 10 seconds between Vincent LaRue and Gian Cardoso. I'm super curious if Gian can hold on to the gap that he has to Mark Coyne for second. One of the battles that has not cooled off yet, Jake Hewitt, Tanner Schiffner, both trying to get this battle underway once more. Jake Hewitt wanting to get back to the top of the order that he had prior to the pit cycle, meaning that he will be duking it out pretty extensively. Something to note, there are 2 spots that the number board can be on for the BMW, and if you have whatever your default paint is will put that number board in one of two positions, and you have to make sure your stock iRacing one, not our trading paints liveries that we see here on stream tonight, has the right one. Otherwise, the 100 will be to the left or to the right of it. So, Gab Chavez getting that repair done and into that. Black flag for him as well. I wonder if that was for incident limits or for an unsafe pit entry. Unfortunate either way. We'll see him fall down to the tail end of the GT3 order. Oscar Brown, despite the trials and tribulations that he has found himself tonight, will see himself regain the top step of the GT4 AM podium, ahead of Logan Branson by a few seconds after that incident when Logan came out of pit lane. So keeping an eye on this battle as well as the battles. I'm going to take a look at, we break down our GT4 Pro AM split. I'm going to dive over to the battle between Tanner Schiffner just to look at a couple more GT4s while we're at it. Interesting thing for me to keep in mind, you can see the gaps in class at that point between GT4 Pro, GT4 AM. The gap between most of the GT4 AM pretty spread, but if we have to come in for a splash and dash for any of those drivers, that really, I think, changes the game and the number system that we have to play with. So, I'm curious to see how the rest of these 33 minutes that remain are managed by these drivers in GT3 or GT4 AM. GT4 Pro, similar story. Same question I have for both Tanner Schiffner, Jake Hewitt, Stephen Wallace, all these drivers at the sharp end of the stick. How can they manage their tires as well as their fuel to make it to the end? Can they do it on the one stop with them coming in so close to the halfway mark, or will they have to pit for a second round of fuel? Nick Bowen, I think, is aiming for a fuel number, which is why he's so content to be so far behind. But we'll have to see if that plays out longer than the time remaining would dictate. Brandon Potts off for 30 seconds. Unfortunate for Brandon Potts as his night in that Mustang GT3. Continuing to struggle. Mark Coyne finding a little bit of pace to put himself less than a second behind Gian Cardoso. This battle for LMP3 heating up once more as Mark continues to find his pace. I'm curious again, same kind of question I have for pretty much all of these categories. Where does the fuel math end up for these drivers? Where does it go as we look on the wheel and then on top ahead? Gian Cardoso is in between a GT3 and a GT4, which means that that corner was going to be slower than he could have taken it had he not done so. Oh, Ben Eichen trying to look to stay ahead and keep going. Ryan Buchanan, I believe that is in that GT4 Mustang. Going to work his way around. Kind of keeping up to see how the battle is shaking down between Gian Cardoso and Mark Coyne. Excuse me. Well, Ben Eichen letting him through so he can continue his fight. Less than a second just separates these drivers. Ben Eichen also with a slowdown penalty. I think it wasn't intentional for him to let Mark Coyne through, but more of a choice, as I have to make sure I get my buttons set up correctly. I don't know why it flipped LMP3 Pro and AM when Vincent LaRue is winning, but I'm not going to fight it. These two still duking it out. We'll see them battling for probably, I think, the rest of this race at the current moment and the way it's going. Forgive me for breathing in the mic. Oscar Brown, unfortunately, finds himself once again struggling with these corners. I wonder if it's a Fanatec issue. Talked a little bit before the race with Oscar Brown. Yeah, it looks like he's just parking it, trying to, oh yeah, it definitely isn't working right. So I think that is, we talk about Fanatec issues earlier on and has seen him get that car moving again. But that's going to be interesting. Benjamin O'Shea diving in early to serve a black flag drive-through penalty for incident limits. That's going to dump him out at the bottom of LMP3 Pro. So a rough night getting worse there for him. Mark Coyne, Gian Cardoso duking it out in the second and third spots of LMP3 at Gian Cardoso, choosing to go in between those. Mark Coyne having to back out to not run into Gian Cardoso as he tries to navigate traffic. Both of them getting thrown for a bit of a loop in this awkward series of corners. Both survive. Okay. All right. Sorry, microphone. Trying to not breathe directly into you and cause problems. Forgive me. Okay. How are we doing? Where are we at? What's going on? Battle here for LMP3, P2, and P3 in Pro and overall. Rest of the battles are pretty much being decided right now by a final pit stop strategy or any drive-through penalties. Jaden Ledbetter finds himself in fourth after all of that. I'm trying to keep an eye on everybody else that has battles. Paul York, as well as Logan Branson for the lead of GT4AM after Oscar Brown's unfortunate, I think, technical and hardware difficulties continue to plague him. We'll see those two within 0.4 of a second of each other. I'm going to hop on board with Logan Branson, see if I can hit the right button. Yeah, I can see off the wing of that GT4, see the LMP3 and GT3 traffic that might come in the way of this battle as these two are within a few tenths of each other. I want to say that is the pink LMP3 of Jake Fulton, that number 74 LMP3 going on through. Legend of Zelda on that one. Fun for me as someone who's a nerd like that. And it will see these two continue to duke it out as we get into the closing stages. 43 minutes on the clock as time has elapsed, with a total of 25 minutes or 27 in between. Gab Chavez, I think, is retiring from the race at this point. We'll have to see whether or not he comes back out to finish the race or not. Sits currently in last of the cars that are on the racetrack still, but is still in pit lane. With 25 minutes left, I'm super curious if they're able to do it with the one stop. Mark Coyne getting, once again, right behind Gian Cardoso as these two go toe-to-toe. Mark Coyne making the look. Gian Cardoso having the inside line. We'll have to see how these two duke it out over the next little while. Gian Cardoso getting the better exit, but Mark Coyne unwilling to relent as these two go and duke it out. Coming through the turn number 13, turn number 14 coming up just ahead. We'll see both of them round out a lap once more. The sunset reflecting off of the carbon fiber on that one. A fun aspect of this race. Christopher Blue labeled as crashed. I'll come and jump in on that in just a moment. I want to see how these two fare, if Gian Cardoso can find the time here before the end of the race. 25 minutes now officially on the clock as we go, as the graphical glitches sometimes happen. See, and oh my gosh, Mark Coyne continuing to hang out right behind Gian Cardoso. Brandon Pott's going to dive into pit lane for his final stop, I believe. As these two, oh my gosh, Mark Coyne. I wonder if Mark Coyne's trying to two-stop it and Gian Cardoso is trying to one-stop it. That might be the play here. We'll have to see how they develop. I'm curious what happened to Christopher Blue. Let's go back and look at it as those two continue to battle it out. That is a broken car to begin with. What happened to this car earlier? That is a broken car there. Let's find out. Okay, here we are. Car looks put together. Oh, got over the curbing hard into the barrier. Is going to see that entire rear kind of fall apart. And that will see him pull it over there. And then he pauses, waits for traffic to happen. I'm going to follow this car. That car is hurting something fierce. You can see it in the way that bodywork is just crumpled. And that entire, and that car just spins on him. And I think he makes the wise decision from there to jump into the pits. Yes, absolutely. Mark Coyne gonna pull into pit lane right now to get this last fuel stop done. A splash and dash for him. We'll have to see. I think that means nobody else can go the distance. But we'll have to make sure of that before I say it verbatim. Oscar Brown also diving into pit lane. Had an off track. Came back on track. Let's see. I want to see what happened there. It looks like the same hardware issue. You see that car just all the way to the left. And then he entered pit lanes, entered pits. Mark Coyne out of pit lane, along with Christopher Blue, trying to get as much points as he can back into this fight. Tanner Schiffner and Stephen Wallace find themselves both in a battle with each other, as Stephen Wallace had a bit of a slowdown earlier. Corey Lobner also joining the cars that have had a crash. I wonder what happened to Corey Lobner. Back half, I wonder if he just got a little loose there. Yeah, it got loose on that last corner and then just got more loose and then did not catch it in time, and that car just spun around. Well, we had talked with Corey about it, about how many times he was going to spin it, and the answer is at least once. Cameron Robertson also labeled as crash. Let's see what happened here. He jumps the pits. I wonder if he dodges to gets all in the curbing, trying to avoid. Nice. Keeps it out of the harm's way. Oh, no, that is not harm's way. Oh, that got hit so hard, and that car is stunning rings. Jake Hewitt also broken as a result of that. I want to watch that from the roof cam of Jake Hewitt if I can. We're on board, and we'll see. Comes around the corner, and that is right. Just target fixates. Did not make enough of a maneuver. We'll have to see. That broken front right, we'll see probably Jake Hewitt dive into pit lane this time by once he's coming back around. We'll see it. It's probably that right. Yeah, that right one is definitely not turning the way it should be. Got smoked. Yeah, they absolutely did. Well, I hope, yeah, that was just looked so rough. I thought it was good up until I watched Jake Hewitt destroy the front end. So we'll see Cameron Robertson come back into pit lane for that, which means that he can go back out and race some more. Tanner Schiffner, Stephen Wallace coming in and around once more into a battle with each other. I think is where the word "in" keeps coming back into the sentence. Oscar Brown in with a black flag as well. We'll see him leave that car there. I think he's parking it for the evening. Not 100%, but I believe so. Jake Hewitt in, the rest of the field pretty spread out at this point. Matt Pyle trying to find a little bit of time to Nick Bowen. And to keep ahead of him, Tanner Schiffner, Stephen Wallace still duking it out as well. Both of these guys pitted pretty early for the GT4 Pro. We'll have to see whether or not they keep it up over the next little while and if they come back in for a second stop. I get the feeling it's hard to not get a second stop in. Paul York and Logan Branson in a battle that's been ebbing and flowing. I want to keep a quick eye on it before it gets too far out of hand, one way or the other. Paul York setting his personal best this last time by. A fantastic run from Paul York for his debut run in the Beer League. In Beer League is a Wednesday show that I do. I'm apparently very tired, so forgive me. In Track Limits Racing on the Sports Car Series, round 1 of season 3. Stephen Wallace getting hounded by Tanner Schiffner continuously. Gian Cardoso back to 3 seconds ahead of Jaden Ledbetter. Jaden Ledbetter having a pretty fantastic run here. Andrew Matthias in to pit lane. He can't go the distance. I get the feeling we're not going to be able to see all of these cars make it to the end without issue. Cameron Robertson back out on track. I'd love to see it, especially with cars that have incidents like that. But he's got to come back in and serve the drive-through for the incident limit, which is unfortunate. So insult to injury for something that it was not. Insult to injury for the 4X he got because a car ran into him. But he continues on and keeps Matt Pyle getting. I think Nick Bowen has hit his fuel numbers and now it's just cruising to the end of this race, is my feeling. And Matt Pyle, meanwhile, has to continue to fuel save. I'm not sure. But with how long Nick Bowen was floating or staying on the jacks, I get the feeling it was possible. Gian Cardoso diving in as well. Can't go the distance. We'll see him probably in for about the same amount, 10 seconds for these drivers. And we'll see whether or not he comes in or comes out ahead or behind of Mark Coyne. Because that'll be interesting. Ooh, 6 seconds on the jack will put him a couple seconds ahead of Mark Coyne coming out of the pit lane. Karen Robertson diving in to serve the black flag for the incident limit. Matt Pyle, Tanner Schiffner, Nick Bowen, all in battles as well. Paul York slowly closing in on Logan Branson, even though he had a slower lap this most recent time by. The battles in GT4, I think, once again, are going to be fantastic this season. We'll have to see how they play out over the course of all of them. Slowdown penalty for Brandon Potts. Hopefully he serves it before it becomes a black flag. We'll see here in a moment if that's the case or not. These two, Logan Branson is currently being hounded by Paul York. I want to go back to riding. I'm going to ride on board with Paul York this time as these two come around the final couple corners before the start-finish line. 52 minutes elapsed, 20 minutes left to go. They might have to come in for a splash and dash. Matt Pyle and Nick Bowen also in the similar boat. We'll come back to those guys in just a minute. As well as battles pretty much up and down the grid, coming to the pit cycle, it seems, between all of them, as Gian Cardoso, Mark Coyne back to 3 seconds of a gap after the pit cycle, because Mark Coyne was on the jacks for 9 seconds and Gian Cardoso was on the jacks for 6 seconds. So we'll have to see how that plays out here. Logan Branson still heading off Paul York. Nick Bowen right behind Matt Pyle here for the bottom step of the GT4 Pro podium. And these drivers are going to be going at it, I think, till the checkered flag. Tanner Schiffner, Stephen Wallace. I got to imagine Stephen Wallace is trying to make the one stop happen. They're running about a second slower than they were at their fastest laps. We'll have to see if that's the case or not. But with how these two are running, I got the feeling it's possible. Not impossible, but very possible. Closest battles on track right now are the ones I'm showing you between these three pairs of drivers. Tanner Schiffner trying to get past Stephen Wallace, Nick Bowen trying to get around Matt Pyle for that bottom step of the podium in GT4 Pro. And then, last but certainly not least, Paul York and Logan Branson for GT4 AM lead as they go. Christopher Blue trying to stay ahead of Ethan Hamlet and get back around. We'll have to see here if Ethan gets by. John Newman diving into pit lane as well to get his last splash and dash done. John Newman having a pretty solid race this time by after the incident early on. Finds himself pretty well and done, getting a good result here in third in GT4 AM, hitting that podium spot. Corey Lobner diving in, allowing Ryan Buchanan by as he cannot go the distance. I don't think any of these drivers can. We have 15 minutes still of racing to go, and it's not a long stop. John Newman already out 10 seconds on the jack. We'll probably see something similar out of Corey Lobner here as he's still in there for just over 11 seconds. It's going to be a fast fuel stop for all of these drivers that are trying to make the two-stop the functioning one. I get the feeling it's the only way to do it. Paul York, Logan Branson getting checked up by Austin Green in the GT3 car. We'll see these two continue to duke it out for GT4 AM lead. So I go back over to my league split. There we go. I'll show you those two. Half a second still between them. Tanner Schiffner also still half a second behind. And you can see that gap between Nick Bowen and Matt Pyle also down to just a couple hundredths as we go. All right. Nick Bowen diving in this time by. Can't go the distance either. We'll see himself come in for the splash and dash. I'm guessing we'll see a lot of these drivers come in over the next few laps to get the splash and dash done. Checking in with Paul York and Logan Branson. 3:10 separate these drivers. Gian Cardoso trying to get around this battle without causing too much trouble. We'll see whether or not he's successful. Well, we also have the same problems that it had, if you remember back in the... Oh, no. Had to blow up tonight. It was a tough feature race today anyway, Rip. It was I would say still a solid effort, Oscar. I hope the Moza swap over gives you a little bit more consistency. I know it's something we talked about. I've seen you guys talk about on in the Discord. Speaking of the Discord, if you want to get in on this kind of action, we still have a few spots available to my knowledge for, I believe, LMP3 and GT4. If you want to be a part of this action every other Saturday night, with some exceptions where it's, there's a roster of weeks, but it's largely every couple of Saturdays. We are there. You can search us up on Discord. I can go !Discord and get that. There we go. So you can see that. Track Limits. Join on Track Limits Racing. You can find the registration there for all that, if that seems up your alley. I know I haven't plugged it a whole lot because I've been busy worrying about racing. Corey Lobner and Logan Branson as Logan Branson comes in for his final stop. We'll see those two go back to back. Ryan Buchanan getting hunted down by Nick Bowen after the pit cycle. We'll have, I think, see the rest of them come in here in the next couple laps. At least you can watch the race broadcast now. Yeah, you can. You can watch us watch these closing minutes as Paul York tries to hold on to, and I guess he's not going to be able to if he has to come in to serve, or not serve, but come in for a second fuel stop, because it looks like just about everyone is going to have to here in the last 10 minutes. Tommy Cogan unable to go the distance either. We'll see him jump into the pit lane for a splash and dash. I get the feeling we're going to see a lot of drivers come in the next couple laps for a fill up. Paul York also diving in from the GT4 AM lead, probably giving it back to Logan Branson, depending on how long he spends on the jacks. It's going to be interesting to see how fast he gets that pit stop done. 9 seconds was Logan Branson's time. 9.7 seconds, because it's an important distinction. 9.3 seconds for Paul York. Might see this go the way of Paul, depending on how it goes out. There is Logan Branson. Paul York just outside of pit lane. A second and a full second faster pit lane time, including his stop time, than Logan Branson sees Paul York retain the lead after the pit cycle. But can he hold on to it for the final 10 minutes? Let's see. We have plenty of racing still left to go. Logan Branson flashing his lights, trying to get under the skin of Paul York. Paul York going to have to be as cool as a cucumber, as they say in Australia. Logan Branson making the look, trying to get the dive out the inside. Paul York keeping his line. It's going to force Logan to get back in behind. Stephen Wallace coming in from the lead of the race, and we'll see him fight it out. Austin Green and Tommy Cogan duking it out. Ben Eichen and Tommy Cogan duking it out. I'm watching along with this battle between Paul York and Logan Branson. It is too good to pass up. We'll see Nick Bowen and Ryan Buchanan also duke it out, 2/10 away from each other. GT3 is getting involved. Reese Allport trying to break up this fight between these two drivers. Going to see that gap open up to a second and a half. We'll have to see how well it does or doesn't come back to him. Nick Bowen getting around Ryan Buchanan amongst all of this. I want to take a quick look at that, and that is, I think, Nick Bowen just having a better exit there. Matt Pyle diving into pit lane as well, coming out, I think, just behind Stephen Wallace. Tanner Schiffner going to try to go the distance on the one stop. We'll see how well that goes. Andrew Matthias, Corey Lobner duking it out towards the tail end of GT4 Pro. Whew. All right. Austin Green labeled as crashed as we were watching that lead for GT4AM. And I want to see what happened here for Austin Green. Clearly not too awful. Logan Branson into pit lane once. Oh, that was an unfortunate moment there. Keeps it out of the wall, however. Something I want to point out. Black flag for Logan Branson for incident limits. Paul York no longer under the gun for the lead of GT4AM. Whew. All right, we can relax for about 2 seconds. Jake Fulton trying to stay ahead, Emery Anderson trying to stay ahead of Ethan Hamlet in the closing stages here. Gian Cardoso and Mark Coyne back at the battle again that they had prior to the pit cycle. Jaden Ledbetter, Vincent LaRue trying to get the one stop done. 9 minutes left on the clock. Can they do it? Tanner Schiffner also not able to go the distance. I don't think anybody will be doing the one stop here tonight is my guess, but I'd love to be wrong. Oh, now all Paul York has to do, I'm coming back to this for a quick moment. Paul York in his maiden debut may take home the GT4 AM win. We'll have to see how that develops. Tommy Cogan, Ben Eichen in a battle for GT3 on the bottom step of the podium. Tommy Cogan having a more interesting race up until this point, but still has to come, Austin Green and Ethan Hamlin still have to pit, so we'll have to see as well as Ben Eichen that we're following along with. Ryan Buchanan in from his spot in the race to do his splash and dash for the end. Gian Cardoso as well as Mark Coyne still duking it out for P3 in the bottom step of the podium with only 8 minutes and some change, actually 7 minutes and some change. We'll have to see how well this develops. Mark Coyne getting right up behind Gian Cardoso. Cameron Robertson trying to get around some GT3 traffic. Logan Branson labeled as crashed after that incident, after the drive-through. Wonder what happened there. Taking a look. We're coming into the 90-degree right-hander of turn number 12. And, just too much rotation. Sees him slide off track, and then he pulls it around, keeps it out of the wall. He gets that car going back again. Ethan Hamlet diving into pit lane. Even Ethan cannot go the distance. 8 seconds in and out. Quick and done and dusted, as they say. We'll see those guys filter out. Jaden Ledbetter diving in and out as well. 6 seconds steps him ahead of Gian Cardoso and Mark Coyne, but drops that gap from 20 seconds down to 6 seconds. Vincent LaRue, an individual I know can do the Giga one stop. Emery Anderson has to take the runoff to not run into Vincent LaRue. I'm curious whether or not Vincent LaRue is going to try to do the undercut or the overcut. Put it that way. Austin Green, Ben Eichen, both diving into pit lane from their respective spots. I'm also curious to see where Tommy Cogan and Austin Green come up after the pit cycle. Tommy Cogan pulled the trigger early. Austin Green had a spin while ahead. And Austin Green finds himself, I think, a few seconds behind as a result. Tommy Cogan playing that beautifully, trying to get that spot done. Ben Eichen trying to stay where he's at in P4 as a result. Reese Allport diving in from where he's at in third. Vincent LaRue unable to go the distance as well. I'm largely not surprised. We'll see him make that spot happen. I'm going to make the two-stop splash and dash complete. Mark Coyne, Gian Cardoso still battling out the closest battle on track, as you can see on that interval timing tower for the moment. Logan Branson labeled as crash once again. And Vincent LaRue only in on the box for 5.85 seconds. 22-second pit lane travel time. Heaps faster than anyone else. Still stays about 10 seconds ahead of Jaden Ledbetter, who is 5 seconds ahead of Gian Cardoso and Mark Coyne. See what happened to Logan Branson here. Finds himself in another crash. I think he is having a rough evening after that initial drive-through cost him a potential win. Yeah, oh gosh. That car would be leaking all kinds of stuff. Benjamin O'Shea having to take a little bit of evasive action there. Mark Coyne also labeled as crashed. Oh no. What happened here? Mark Coyne, Gian Cardoso. I wonder if the infamous turn number 3 has claimed another victim. I guess. Yeah, there it is. You can see it. He had almost kept it. I think if he just let off the throttle and let it straighten out. But gets it done, gets back into it, keeps his spot. Still 8 seconds ahead of Benjamin O'Shea. That battle for third coming to a close. Logan Branson, obviously after that huge impact, going to find himself with a meatball. We'll see him stick where he's at in third. John Newman going to find himself in second in GT4 AM. Excuse me. Quick rundown of your top fives in each category. Vincent LaRue, Jaden Ledbetter, Gian Cardoso, Mark Coyne, and Benjamin O'Shea for LMP3 as we get into the last 4 minutes. And there is but Ryan Buchanan, Paul York trying to, Ryan Buchanan, Jake Hewitt, are the last kind of close on-track battle. Jake Hewitt's trying to recover what he can of the race. Started in 5th, had a fantastic launch, jumping him up to 2nd, where he stood and hung out with Stephen Wallace. Won some of the pit duels early on, found himself in the lead, and then I'm not exactly sure what happened, but had a rough moment there with a spun Cameron Robertson, and will find himself further back in the field as a result. Now he's trying to make up those positions as best he can. Nick Bowen setting a personal best this most recent time by 152.84, fully solidly putting that 8-second gap up to Stephen Wallace and trying to close the gap down to 1.16 seconds. I'm super curious if there is going to be a last-minute battle. 7 seconds, 8 seconds between the leader and the class of LMP3 and Jaden Ledbetter. Taking a look, I'm going to hop over to what we call, that is a spun Jaden Ledbetter. Oh, Ryan Buchanan, Reese Allport also dragged into that. What happened there? Ethan Hamlet also amongst that. Jaden trying to go around. Oh, and just taps Ryan Buchanan and then gets straightened back out by Reese Allport. Jake Hewitt get around not Matt Powell, Ryan Buchanan, but not in the way I think he would have wanted. So, that brings us to the closing stages. Less than 2 minutes remain. Hopping over to the grid. Drive-throughs for both Jake Hewitt and Reese Allport for incident limits, along with Jaden Ledbetter. As the white flag comes out, you'll see Gian Cardoso and maybe Mark Coyne. It looks like it. Get around him as we are coming down to the white flag. Vincent LaRue now 17 seconds ahead of the P2 position, Gian Cardoso. Jaden Ledbetter with a meatball as well. What happened to the Jaden? Hold on, let me see if I can find a camera here that will show me what happened to this poor car in a way that makes sense. Heartbreak at the end of the night for Jaden Ledbetter having to come in. Brandon Potts also with a drive-through. Stephen Wallace with a black flag as well from the lead of the race. Dramatic finish to the night. Vincent LaRue coming around the last couple corners, trying to get by Christopher Blue, choosing to hang out behind, knowing that the speed difference isn't too great between those two classes, and choosing to wait. Stephen Wallace coming in to serve his drive-through penalty on the checkered flag. And we'll see him wrap it up. Checkered flag in the air for Vincent LaRue, who comes home P1, a victor of the evening. You can see that swivel there. See the car fly down towards pit lane. And to be there, Gian Cardoso coming around the final corner now to take home P number 2. Mark Coyne going to find himself in 3rd at the end of the night. Both of those drivers coming home, P1, P2, or P2, P3. Ethan Hamlet, a whole lap ahead, finishes before Tommy Cogan and Austin Green. And rounding out that podium, we'll see Tommy Cogan, Austin Green hit the checkered flag here. Matt Pyle, the first of the cars not of the podium in GT4 Pro. Tanner Schiffner, Nick Bowen, and Stephen Wallace will try to wrap up the last lap here and see if he can finish in 3rd. Cameron Robertson also with a drive-through penalty at the end of the race. It is a very high incident count tonight. I'm super curious to see if we have beat our previous record. My guess is no, but it might be close. Jaden Ledbetter wrapping it up, coming home 3rd at the end of the night. Benjamin O'Shea only a few tenths behind. We're waiting on the last couple cars. Austin Green as well as Ben Eichen trying to come home and wrap up the podium for GT3. LMP3 Pro and AM podiums have been finalized. Have not been finalized. As Emery Anderson still coming home to wrap up the LMP3 AM podium. And last but certainly not least, Tanner Schiffner, Nick Bowen, and Stephen Wallace round out the GT4 Pro category. What a race. What a fan. It was a one for the books. A fantastic start to the season. Sees Vincent LaRue come home P1 ahead of Giancarlo Marcoin. I want to take a look at the results here. We'll start with the LMP3 Pro category, work our way through. Vincent LaRue going to take home that win, like we've talked about. Benjamin O'Shea ending up in second after the post-race penalties. That's not right. That's heat results. Oh, that's why. Good job. You can read. There we go. Feature results. Vincent LaRue going to come home P1, 16 seconds ahead of Giancarlo. Mark Coyne coming home a few seconds behind after a late race spin. Took him out of contention for that second podium spot. Jaden Ledbetter, late race drama causes him to fall down to P4 after a drive-through penalty and a meatball flag round out his night. Benjamin O'Shea in 5th, and Scott Fleming did not start our feature race. Oops. Yeah, I would say oops. I don't think it was intentional, but it definitely looked a little sketchy there. LMP3AM is going to see Jake Fulton, Emery Anderson, and Carmen Robertson. I'll probably have them through. Ryan was slower than I thought. Yeah, that makes sense. I think that is a reasonable thing, but you got to remember the speed differences. Took the D3. Yeah, that's makes sense. Comes on P4. Still solid result. GT3 results. We'll see Ethan Hamlet take home the win there. Tommy Kogan in second. Austin Green is going to round out that podium. The late race spin causing that one to come to a anticlimactic end. Ben Eichen, Reese Allport are the top 5. Casey Caraway, Christopher Blue, Brandon Potts are the top 8. Gab Chavez is going to be the one that does not finish from the GT3 category. GT4 Pro is going to see the likes of Tanner Schiffner taking home that win after a late race drive-through cost Stephen Wallace the victory. He will, however, come home 3 in P3. Nick Bowen splitting the difference in P2 there on the podium. Matt Pyle, Andrew Matthias are the top 5 there. Corey Lobner, Jake Hewitt, and Ryan Buchanan round out the 8 cars in GT4 Pro. GT4 AM, we'll see Paul York, John Newman take home the win on his first outing air with the Track Limits Racing Sports Car Series. A fantastic result in great pit maneuver, or pit strategy. Not a pit maneuver. We did not turn somebody. Pit strategy saw him come out just ahead of Logan Branson until the drive-through penalty for Logan Branson took that fight out the window. Logan Branson, however, comes on through P3. Oscar Brown with hardware issues unfortunately causes him to not finish the race and ends up 13 laps down. And that, I think that is it for us tonight. We have gone through a heat race, a feature race. Our first race of the season is in the books. Next week. I had a question, and then I need to respond to something really quickly. Thing responded. Let's see here. What was I looking for? Oh, where we're going next. We're going after Hungaroring. We're going to Hockenheim. I vote ban. Caster's pick was a decision. I know. I loved it. It was a great decision. It made for fantastic racing up like 9/10 of it. It just happened to be also on the same week as Petit Lemans and Bathurst. So it's kind of like, we're picking favorites here, and clearly people picked wrong. Vote to ban this track. JK was fun, but a hell of a workout. Yeah, I mean, I imagine. It's super technical. It's super fun. I'm super glad we chose it for the caster pick for this season. We got out of the way early. But I'm glad I was here for it. It's going to be, I think, an interesting rest of the season. Hockenheim comes next in 1 week's time. And then in a couple weeks' time after that, we'll see Sonoma. on the 1st. So, if you want to be a part of this action, I did it just a moment ago. I'll do it once more. Check us out on Discord or on SimGrid. I believe we still have something on SimGrid. I'm not 1,000%, but we do have a Discord, and that's probably the place to find us. If you want to get a part of this multi-class action every other Saturday night, usually, but sometimes it's back-to-back weeks, we'll see you there. Join us on Discord and be a part of the racing action. Still have some slots open to my knowledge, though I can be corrected in chat if that is not the case. I need to find somebody to raid. My usual co-host, who's not here with me today, does a lot of the administrative stuff. So I'm used to just being the person who pushes the buttons and makes the cameras look good, and then talks everyone's ear off. And now I have to do that and also go find somebody to raid. So let's see if I can do that. Let's see if I'm capable of getting a raid going. Raid channel. MX5 all day. MX5 all day. Let's do them. We're our raid to MX5 all day, who does nothing but race MX5s, shockingly. Go ahead, send them some love, and we'll see you guys in just a week's time for round number 2 of Track Limits Sports Car Series, season number 3. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Fennicini once again, and I'll see you guys in 7 days' time for Hungaroring and another fantastic evening of racing here at Track Limits Racing. Let's do it.